out my famous tone that only me, the band, and my girlfriend have ever heard before.
If you're going to let that famous tone of yours hold back your entire record being finished, you deserve your fate. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 305 of SMG Viewers Comments. This is my weekly show where I try and answer your comments and questions about recording and bands and all that kind of good stuff. A lot of new people coming into the show, a lot of beginner questions. I love getting those beginner questions. Believe me, you want something answered, leave a comment below if it's cool. If I think others will learn from it as well, I'll be more than happy to answer it right here on the show. Anyway, it's Wednesday, May 26th at like 6:30 at night. I'm kind of shooting this the night before, but it is what it is. And of course, the big story this week is Dave Ellefson being let go from Megadeth for his, shall we say, transgression of being caught on video with his dick in his hand. Apparently, it rubbed Dave Mustaine the wrong way. Anyway, it's sad to see it happen, but I can definitely understand it from Mustaine's perspective because this whole thing is just fucking bad for business. Now, believe me, I haven't watched the video. I have no interest in giving you guys a play-by-play of that. It's something, in my opinion, nobody really needs to see, but the initial accusation was the woman involved was underage, which wasn't true to my understanding. You guys can dig a little deeper into that if you want. After all, this is not the National Enquirer, but you know, I'm a bit of a fan of Ellefson. I'm sad to see him leave Megadeth, but I definitely understand where they're coming from because that shit's just fucking kryptonite at this point, and nobody needs that dragging down their band, that's for sure. Anyway, enough of the jerking around. Let's get to the questions.
Please, in the name of crop, stop pushing the Harley Benton crap. It's just cheap garbage that you get what you pay for. They don't last under normal uses due to inferior electronics and hardware, plus poorly cured wood that warps and separates over time. I wish I could post some pics here. Buyers beware.
Screech, what the fuck are you talking about? I got this fucking Amrock here that I've had since August. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. I love this guitar. Cheap hardware. It's running EMGs and a hipshot bridge. And what do we got for tuners on here? We've actually, it's got Grover tuners as well. So there goes that theory out the window. Now, don't get me wrong. Those cheaper Harley Bentons, like the $100 and $150 ones, you might be onto something with that statement. But the Amrocks are fucking amazing, honestly. I'd put these just under the Solars in terms of quality. Like, these are just absolutely stellar guitars. I could definitely go on stage with something like this night after night and not feel like I'd need to play anything better. Yeah, for all you guys wondering what this is a Fishman guitar synth. I did a history piece on this a while back called Can You Play Metal on a Guitar Synth? It's a really cool video. Unfortunately, not a lot of you guys checked it out, which kind of sucks, but it's definitely a very cool toy. But yeah, big thumbs up for the Harley Benton stuff, especially the Amrocks. I'm absolutely in love with this guitar. In my opinion, it is the best bang for the buck guitar out there on the market. To this day, you get what you pay for. This one is just under $500. Don't buy the $150 ones. Get the sub 500 ones. You're probably going to get much better results. And EMGs.
Glenn, you may be an asshole. People like me look at reviews like yours when we are on the market for some gear. A good example is my Harley Benton Amrock 6 came in yesterday and it absolutely rocks. Point being, even though you're an asshole, but an honest one with good intentions, keep up the content and let the haters pave the way. LMAO.
Well, David, I'm glad somebody listens to good advice and doesn't just sit and whine. Seriously though, I'm really glad you like your Amrock. I think it's a huge step up for the Harley Benton brand, and for you bargain bin hunters out there, I definitely recommend taking a look.
Glenn! Is a subwoofer necessary while mixing, can two decent monitors do the job?
Well, here's the thing. I do all my mixes without a subwoofer. I haven't mixed with a subwoofer since about 2003, to be honest with you. I use the Atom S2Vs back in the soffits there, and the soffits are designed to push all the bass forward and give me a much clearer picture of what's going on the bottom end, so I find I don't really need the sub. I'm not saying don't mix without one, but if you are going to mix with one, switch it in and out of the mix. I mean, I'd say do most of your mixing without, then kick it on for a little bit of reference and kind of change your perspective a little bit, then switch it off, do some more changes, back and forth, that kind of thing. A subwoofer can definitely skew your results in some non-pleasing ways. I used to mix with a subwoofer in my old studio and I was never quite happy with my mixes, and I'm thinking that might have definitely had something to do with it. Once again, I'm not saying don't do it, just use it sparingly if you do want to. That and go check your mix in the car.
Glenn, you're exactly right. I spent $1,200 on a guitar and only spent $100 on my entire recording setup.
I am not shocked at all.
Mastering engineer here. Good advice in this video. My preference regarding sample rates for exported files be whatever the rate session is. The artist mixing engineer should not convert the files themselves just to deliver me a bunch of files that all have the same sample rate. A consistent sample rate is not so important that I want you to use your Toy Town sample rate conversion. I'll do it with what I know works.
Okay, great. You know what? I will concede to that. Good for you, man. Thanks for sharing. Now, this is the thing. I mean, like if you're working with Reaper, it can work with multiple sample rates all on the same project file with no issues whatsoever. And I had a situation where a few guys had downloaded some of my multi-tracks, and because I get stuff coming in from various sources, the drums were recorded at like 48 kilohertz and some of the guitars were recorded at 44.1. Not a big deal if you're a Reaper user, but if you're using a lesser DAW, oh, why are the guitars sped up? Well, no, it's not that the guitars are sped up, it's just the DAW you're working with sucks. So that's why I recommend everybody records at the same sample rate, but as you heard, if you're handing off a project to be mastered, don't worry about it so much because, yeah, that's what mastering engineers, they've got the top of the line gear and they can handle all that shit. But generally, as a good rule of thumb, just when you're tracking, talk to your other guys in your band, make sure you're all working at the same sample rate. It does tend to help things out quite a bit.
For pros, just remember, this guy records amateurs in his mom's basement.
Well, I definitely record a lot of amateurs. I am not going to deny that. That's the whole fucking point of the show, in case you haven't been paying attention, is to help you guys out there working with the smaller bands. Because guess what? You are not going to learn production skills working in a big fucking Hollywood studio that works with top-of-the-line session musicians. It doesn't fucking work like that. Have you not been fucking paying attention? You're going to learn production skills by trying to get the best performances out of musicians who might not be professionals. So if you want to learn how to do that sort of thing, you came to the right place. I always get that same question. Well, who's he ever worked with? It's like, okay, I did some Woods Vipre stuff. I did a track with Queensryche. That's about it. Everybody else has been Joe Nobody garage bands from all over Southern Ontario there. And you know what? I am proud of the work I've done with those bands. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Here's the thing. At the top level in the music biz, there's only 5 or 10 guys doing this stuff for all the different labels. That's it. The rest of us, we're down in the trenches working with the local bands. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's what this show is about, talking about a lot of the pitfalls you're going to run into working with the smaller bands. Because guess what? There's a lot more of us out there working with the small bands than there are the guys working at the top levels. That's just the way how it is. And yeah, it's not my mom's basement, it's a converted garage, but I might be building a new studio this summer with any luck. Anyway, I got to get some plans made up and go before town council. Hopefully they're going to let me build something. It's going to be super cool, and I'm going to document the entire thing. So those of you guys who want to do some room conversions or maybe build your own spot is definitely something you're going to want to stay tuned for.
Question regarding number 11, don't edit the guitars. What exactly do you mean edit here? Are you talking about applying EQ, etc. to the tracks to alter the frequency and tone? Thanks.
No, when I say don't edit, I actually mean don't edit. If you're applying EQ and that kind of shit, that is mixing, and that's definitely a no-no as well. If you're handing your tracks off to be mixed by another person, please, for the love of Crom, do not fucking add any EQ or compression to your guitars. Just leave them the fuck alone. The editing thing, that's as well. It's like, editing all the little stops, like when you're playing on a high gain guitar, there's that desire to edit out all the crap in between. Don't touch it, believe me. We can do it faster with a cock blocker plugin, something like that. And the other thing is, for editing, it would be like, time stretching, trying to timeline everything. And it's like, I find that shit completely fucking unnecessary to start with because it just makes music boring, in my opinion. So don't do it in that regard. The other regard is you'll probably do it wrong and just fuck things up. So leave the fucking tracks alone if you're planning on handing them off to be mixed by somebody else. Defer to their expertise. That's why you hired them.
Double tracking. When dealing with two guitar players both playing the same rhythm, would we still double track and spread both guitars left and right?
Okay, hey, you know what? Great question. We're all new at one point. I'm sure something like this confused the hell out of me when I was starting out too. Generally, when you're tracking two different guitar players doing rhythm, have one guy play the left guitar, have the other guy play the right guitar. You might want a quad track where you have one guy play two guitars on the left and the other guy play two guitars on the right. and you can get some interesting results. My personal favorite, because guitar players tend to, have their own kind of timing and whatnot, is have one guitar player to play 2 tracks on one song, have the other guitar player play 2 tracks on the other song, or 4 tracks. That happened. I did that on the Perpetuate record about 10 years ago and it worked out really well because it just sounds a little bit tighter when you've got one guy doing all the rhythm tracks. Now, for verification on that theory, check out Metallica, because all their amazing records are the ones where they had Hetfield play all the rhythm tracks. The ones where they developed their sound and experimented and branched out, yeah, those were the records where they started to let Kirk play rhythm too.
Glenn is not impressed with the sound coming out of a Fractal FX. That was the joke.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but something will always offend an Axe FX owner. There's nothing inherently wrong with sound coming out of an Axe FX. I don't have a problem with the amp sims. I just don't think it's the world's cleanest direct box or the smartest choice to get a direct signal. Besides, a Countryman's only $150, you cheap motherfucker.
Is the PreSonus Audiobox any good?
Well, I bought one used off eBay a couple years ago and it never fucking worked. Not even once. So in my opinion, yeah, that was a piece of shit. Your mileage may vary. I mean, like Alex, my partner at Spectre Digital, he's got a bigger PreSonus unit. That one's pretty good. He likes it. It's got a lot of I/O, not too bad. But in my own experience, I was not impressed. That being said, Studio One's pretty fucking good.
Well, as he rants about clipping the signal, he clips the signal in the background with a screen. LOL, classic Glenn.
Well, Vortex afternoon music, maybe you should pay a little fucking closer attention and see what's going on. See what I do back here? Oh, look at that. I've got 2 tracks. Why is that? One is my normal track. The other is my safety track in case I clip something. That way I don't clip the fucking signal. Why? Because I'm a little bit dynamic in my vocal delivery. I've had a bunch of people ask, why do you have 2 tracks on there? Well, that's exactly why. It's a safety copy because I know how I perform on camera. Now, for all you guys who might be recording vocalists at home or that sort of thing, and if you're not tracking into a compressor or whatnot, that's something you might consider. It's maybe splitting your signal into 2 preamps or something like that and recording the signal twice, one at a slightly lower gain. That way you've got your ass covered just in case you need it.
Had to turn this video off because I have kids in the house and the swearing was too much.
Hey, Malcolm, I'm so fucking sorry I fucking offended your delicate fucking sensibilities. It's like, fuck's sakes, don't people understand profanity's a bad fucking thing these days? The fuck? Here's the thing, I check off every video that says not for kids because crumb forbid somebody hears the word fuck coming out of a monitor or something like that. It's not like they're gonna learn it at school anyway.
Hey Glenn, I got an S77B recently. It always picks up background noise. I throw on a noise gate and either it doesn't help or it cuts part of my vocals. I mess with settings an awful lot and can't get it to work properly. I don't have a cloud lifter, so I've been using gain on my interface Scarlett 2i2 to do the lifting. Should I go with a cloud lifter as a cheaper alternative I can pick up? Yes, I know. Irony of buying a $400 mic and asking for a cheap compressor booster, whatever the fuck CL1 technically classified is, or is the problem I just don't know how to use a noise gate or have the IQ of room temperature range?
Hey Salem, that's a great question. I'm sure you're running into an issue that a lot of people are having. Okay, now that's the thing, the Scarlett 2i2, decent unit, but it's not fantastic. The thing about the SM7 is this mic needs a shit ton of gain. There's just no getting around it. I record mine into 1073 OPX by Neve. I mean, like, that's gonna give me a crap ton of gain. The cloud lifter is absolutely a solution for this. It's designed for exactly guys in your situation, so I would definitely recommend picking one up. It's definitely a quality unit. Now, that's one thing I say to all you guys who are recording vocals at home. If you're looking into the large diaphragm dynamic mics, just bear in mind you are going to need a crap ton of gain, and that's where some of the cheaper mic preamps do tend to fall apart a little bit, is when you really start cranking that gain over. They might not be able to deliver enough, and if they do, it might be noisy as fuck. Another way to get around it would be to grab RX8 by Isotope and use the denoise algorithm, because it's just absolutely phenomenal. Actually use it on my mic here because I do have a crap ton of gain on here, and I just like to run a little bit of denoise around it just to take a bit of the hiss out. That's kind of been my secret weapon over all these years, and it's definitely worth taking a look. Can't recommend the Isotope stuff enough. It's just simply fantastic. And if you're too cheap to get Isotope, there is a very good denoiser built right into Reaper for absolutely free. It's called Reafer, F-I-R. Definitely worth taking a look at if you're a Reaper guy.
What to do buying a Countryman Type 85 in Australia? Around $350 to $380. For some places, even more.
Yeah, but you guys are having a fire sale on live mice right now. What a time to be an Australian. Holy shit. The country went up in flames a year ago. Everything's super fucking expensive. And if you guys have the absolute worst internet on the face of the fucking planet and are a global laughingstock. This, folks, is what happens when you think Yahoo Serious is good culture. Seriously, though, I'm not sure what your best option would be for a good DI box. Yeah, it's cheap in America. I mean, like, I'm going to be honest, that's where most of you guys are watching the show is in the States. I'll have to do a little bit of homework to find out what a good direct box is for a reasonable price for the broader global audience. I'm so sorry that they're charging you guys rip-off prices for that. I'd say maybe check out the Thomann store, see if you can find a deal on something good there. You might just get lucky.
Glenn, fuck you! I've been watching you for a while. I love the channel and education. Thank you for such great content. My question is, how do you identify when you have phase going on, and what's your approach to fixing?
Well, phase problems usually happen with multiple microphone situations when you have a sine wave at odds with each other. You know, it's like one will have a peak up here and the other peak will be down here and they'll kind of cancel each other out. This can usually be heard in the bass range, like the sub 500 hertz region, and sounds will be thin. I mean, like the classic example is a top snare mic and a bottom snare mic, and they'll be out of phase by nature. So if you flip the phase on one, suddenly all the bottom end comes back in on the snare drum. It's really easy to spot. Guitar mics, same thing. If your guitar mics are slightly out of phase, the guitar will wind up sounding thin when you bring in the second mic, that kind of thing. Now, this is something you're going to have to learn on your own, and you're giving me an idea to throw it on as a fourth part to my free recording basics tutorial. If you haven't got your hands on that, I'll put a link in the description below. It's 3 parts. It's about an hour and a half long. Takes you through the basics of compression, reverb, and EQ. I might add a phase lesson to that. That actually sounds like a really cool idea. Anyway, you can grab that for the high price of absolutely fucking nothing. Links in the description below. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Got something cool coming out this weekend. I'm going to keep you guys posted on that. We're not quite ready to release it yet on Spectre Digital. It'll probably be out Saturday. Might be the very first set of SMG drum samples. Woo, that's kind of frightening. Hey, what can I say? That interview with Paul Lonnie kind of opened me up to a whole new world, so I'm willing to explore it. I'm not going to be a fucking fanatic of my entire life. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for that on Saturday, and we're going to have another really interesting tutorial coming out on Monday. Tentative title is 15 Things to Avoid When Setting Up Your Home Studio. Hopefully it's going to help you guys avoid making a lot of mistakes like I made when I first started out. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in a few days. Until then, let's make some great music together.